Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys.
And I'm Blake Silverman, writer for Detroit Bad Boys, covering everything Pistons, and news writer for Sports Illustrated.
And we are coming to you guys live here on a Saturday afternoon, right as the Cleveland Cavaliers appear to be putting the stomping down on the Toronto Raptors. So unfortunate if you're rooting for the Raptors in that series. Game one does not seem to be going the way you might want. However, that's kind of the way we would expect it to go. But look, the bigger storyline here is, hey, it's playoff basketball time, right? Now it's really go time. The play-in is over. I know there's been some conversation there on, the 7-8 teams made it anyway. So, who cares? What was that all for? I disagree with that. I don't know if you want to talk about that briefly, but we can. Otherwise, let's just take a moment here to talk a little bit about what happened with the play-in and what this means here for the Detroit Pistons as they're about to start their playoff journey on Sunday.
Yeah, I thought the play-in tournament was awesome. I guess the final elimination games we got on Friday night between the Hornets and Magic and Warriors and Suns weren't the best games in the world, but Tuesday and Wednesday, the first set of games were both great. The Hornets and Heat had an absolute classic, and then the Suns and Trailblazers had a good game themselves, and then we got another Steph Curry game on Wednesday night, which was awesome. And I thought the play-in was super fun. I wish Friday night's games were a little bit better. And like you said, the 7 and 8 teams went on anyway. But the Suns were the 7 seed, and they had to play an elimination game. And even if that game wasn't great, I thought it was kind of cool. We had some Warriors maybe it was a nice bow on this iteration of the Warriors with Steve Kerr and Draymond Green getting tossed. And Steph will be back, but who knows what they'll look like. And then in the East, if you're a Pistons fan, even though the Magic just ran the Hornets off the floor, you had a rooting interest in that one. So now it's Pistons Magic. I haven't really seen the general consensus. I'd assume that most Pistons fans are happy that they're not playing the Hornets, but hey, the Magic look good. So like I said before, I think the Pistons are better than any team that was in the play-in, and I think they should take care of the Magic. But hey, when the Magic are on, they're a solid team. So I don't think it'll be a walk in the park either.
Yeah, agreed there. The only reason I think you'd maybe want the Magic or even like the Raptors, we talked about the Raptors a couple of weeks ago. I was like, they play a similar style to Detroit. Detroit just does it better. So you wouldn't expect the Pistons to be out of their comfort zone in that series where you would expect them to have to play out of their comfort zone, or at least have the risk of being pulled out of that comfort zone by a team like the Hornets or like the Celtics, so to speak. Right. So, but anyway, like with the playoffs specifically, play-in specifically, we'll get more into the matchup here in a minute for the Pistons. But look, it's fun basketball, right? Isn't that the point? The point's not seeding stuff. I'm a fan. I'm an NBA fan. I don't care about the seeding itself. I don't care who's necessarily in 6 through 8. I just think it's fun. We get these extra games and we get to watch these teams go at it. Like you said, the Hornets Miami game, that was nuts. That fourth quarter was insane. The shot that Hero makes falling out of bounds and then he get fouled like a play later after an incredible steal by Pollard. That was an incredible game to watch. And the West was the same way. I know it was a blowout there, and I see some Pistons fans in the live chat here already are kind of taking some victory laps on the Hornets a little bit there. And fair enough. You're in the right to do that when they get blown out like that. But it's just fun, man. Like, more fun basketball is a win in my book.
Well, how about I thought that so the NBA creates awards for whatever they create. Like, we have an all-star game MVP, we have an NBA Cup MVP. I think they might need to start thinking about a play-in tournament MVP solely because because of Jalen Green, what he did.
I love that. Yeah,
I know that Pistons fans, there's the little rivalry going with Cade Cunningham, but man, like Jalen Green just took the play-in tournament and made it his, and Booker was in foul trouble, struggled to get it going himself. And yeah, he put up 35 points in a loss against the Blazers, but then he goes and he puts up 36 points and 8 threes against the Warriors in an elimination game and pretty much out-dueled Steph Curry. So that would be something that I would push for. I mean, you're not going to get consecutive game performances like that every year, but just a thought that crossed my mind.
All right, you know what? Let's talk a little bit about the Magic specifically here, because this play-in tournament for me was just really fascinating as a case study of the Orlando Magic. So we got this comment here from Sean Haddix in the live chat, says that I just watched the best version of the Magic. I hope they aren't clicking at the right time. The game before this against the 76ers, they looked bad. Like they looked out of sorts, completely disconnected. The offense was doing what the Orlando Magic offense has been prone to do all season, which was be non-existent and very stagnant and over-reliant on ISO and mid-range shots out of the likes of Paolo Banchero, which he doesn't necessarily excel at. What do you make out of that 2-game run from Orlando? Because I mean, from my perspective, right, you got one game against the Sixers where they looked really bad. I mean, for a couple of days, the national consensus was they were just going to get waxed by Charlotte. And then they come out and they play a great game, really physical game, solid defensive game. They shot the ball well against the Hornets. So, like, who are the Magic? Like, which one is it?
I think that's the thing. They're kind of like a hit or miss team. And I know they've had some injury issues, and you bring in Desmond Bane and he's getting used to playing next to Paolo Banchero. But yeah, just totally different games that you get out of them. And I think the Hornets clearly didn't have the best play-in tournament. Like they didn't play their best game against the Heat. I thought the Heat did a really good job against them defensively, at least to start the game. And then Charlotte finds a way to win it. And I think Orlando sees that, and they knew a lot of this was the Hornets missing shots. But like Con Knipple was a total non-factor. LaMelo Ball was extremely inefficient. Brandon Miller was Charlotte's only source of offense for a bit against the Magic, and then they cooled him off. He just finished the game with 14 points. So, and I think the biggest thing is Paolo was making shots and playing a little bit of bully ball himself, which he did not do against the 76ers. He wasn't really able to do anything at all. There's all this conversation about whether they need to part with Jamal Mosley. Does this win and stomping over Charlotte change things a bit? I don't know, but I think he showed that he's able to make some adjustments, because I mean, if they lose that game against the Hornets, you got to totally reassess everything. And they pretty much came in as the underdog, with everyone just talking up Charlotte and almost penciling them into the ace seed. So I think it was a good win for them. But I do think that the Pistons are just a different animal. And I think it's two physical teams. So if Orlando wants to be physical with Detroit can certainly match that and then some, which I don't think Charlotte can do as good. Like, yeah, they have Moussa Diabate, but they're just not built to be as physical as a team. So I think Orlando saw the blueprint of what they need to do, but I just don't see how it can work over a 7-game series against the Pistons.
Real quick, I'm laughing a little bit. Sean Haddix in the chat said, "Much love to Winnie." I won't get into the pronunciation dispute. Yeah, so if you don't, I'm laughing because on the Pistons Pulse, it had been happening, I guess, for now about 7 weeks, but Bryce had been calling our first daughter, Wynonna, and it never really registered to me. My dad actually had to point it out. And then it happened again on the last episode, and I in the chat, like, I'm so sorry, man. It's actually Winona, not Winona. And then he called me out live, and he's still giving me some crap for it. So now Shauna is too. Yeah, that's funny stuff. But hey, nickname there, so Winnie already. That's the good stuff. Good, love it. But yeah, with the Magic, I was pulling together before our show, right? Just pulling together some team stats for Orlando. You know, you're looking, they're 15th in points per game. They're 19th in offensive rating. They're 13th in points allowed, 11th in defensive rating. They've got a basically break even net rating. They're 27th in 3-point percentage, 24th in attempt rate. For reference here, the Pistons, they're 18th and 29th respectfully. They're 25th in effective field goal percentage. So like what the Magic are a fairly talented team. They're pretty good defensively, but not as good as you would think. And their offense struggles. They don't have a lot of floor spacing. They really rely on getting the ball and scoring inside the arc. They probably, it seems to my eye, they lean a little bit more on the mid-range than maybe the Pistons do, but I don't have a number to back that up yet. I can try to find that maybe while you're going. But, it seems to, the point I'm getting at is it seems like the Magic are maybe 75, 80% of what the Pistons are. They try to play a similar style. They try to do the same sorts of things that the Pistons do. They just don't do it as well. And I think anytime you get into a series with two teams that look like mirror images of one another like that, it usually just goes to the team that does it better with some pretty solid consistency. I mean, you'd have to catch the Pistons on 4 off nights, basically. 4 off nights playing the style that they have grown accustomed to, that they try to enforce. I'm with you. I don't really see how I can see the world where it would happen. Like, I could see this going 5 or 6 games because again, like the Magic, they are talented. I don't want to take anything away from Orlando here. Paolo's a great player. Desmond Bane's a Piston killer, right? He has been for the majority of his career. Franz Wagner's good. I know he's been struggling here, getting his feet back under him from that injury, but this is a really talented team. So if they get hot, yeah, I mean, you could go 5 or 6. I can't see them pulling it out, unless they suddenly show up and they're like, shooting 50% from 3 on high volume or something. If they fundamentally change who they are, okay, all bets are off. But otherwise, I can't see it.
Yeah, and it's an interesting series because once upon a time, not very long ago, these two teams were sort of on comparable arcs, and I'd say Orlando had more momentum behind them as to being
they're like a year ahead.
That could take the next step in the East. They have that young star in Paolo. They seemingly figured out who their number 2 was in Franz Wagner, which was a huge question for the Pistons before this season. And now Jalen Duren rises into that, and then they make a big trade and deal for Desmond Bane to fill out their roster. But even with all that, it just seems like Paolo obviously is very hit or miss, and he's a great player. He's a threat to go off any night, but very up and down. And I just think overall Orlando, yes, injuries were an issue, but they were never really able to just like get in a groove all season. I mean, they had a 7-game winning streak at one point in March, but 2 of those wins were over the Wizards. One of them was over the Mavericks and another against the Bucks. So it just seems like the Pistons, like they have a deeper roster too, which I think is the biggest telling point of like how this series can go heading into it. And I mean, the Magic have some good players coming off the bench. Like you have Anthony Black and Tristan da Silva. But the Pistons just are a deeper team overall. And I think that'll only help them. And like, yes, the Magic are physical, but I think the Pistons are more physical on another level. And also they just have the best player in the series in Cade Cunningham. So it's like, again, since they are sort of similar teams, similar archetypes, like it's not out of this world to say that the Magic can upset the Pistons. It's just extremely unlikely based on everything we've saw thus far over the regular season.
All right, I want to talk about this real quick because I've seen this a little bit online, and now I'm seeing it a few times in the live chat here. So this is Richard in the live chat, but there have been a couple others. Apologies for not pulling you guys up too, but he says that he thinks Detroit will be tested by the Magic, but wins. Charlotte was a clear mismatch, though. Do you agree with that? Like I've seen this as kind of the I wouldn't necessarily call it the prevailing wisdom with the online Pistons fan base right now, but it seems like a lot of people are of the belief that the Magic really exposed Charlotte's vulnerability to physicality, and that means that if the Hornets had won that game and had been playing as the 8th seed, that they would have been just kind of run out of the gym. Like, is that where you're at after seeing this play-in series, or do you disagree? I'm curious.
I mean, I think it's a fair point, but overall, I don't think that the Hornets would put up 4 stinkers in a row like the game that they did against Orlando. I mean, both Orlando and Miami, I think, had solid game plans against Charlotte, and it was just take away LaMelo Ball and Con Knipple. And yes, both were a little bit fortunate that neither player was making shots at a clip that they normally do. But like, yeah, Con Knipple's a rookie. He doesn't have playoff experience, but this guy led the league in 3-pointers this season, and his teammate LaMelo Ball was number 2. So I think that's the way that they could potentially take a game, maybe 2 on the Pistons. I still think there's a huge talent gap. And hey, I'd even argue that Charlotte has a deeper roster than Orlando. Like, they've had some great contributors off the bench. And I mean, the biggest one is bringing in Kobe White at the trade deadline. He becomes the hero in that first play-in game. But you also have Ryan Kalkbrenner, another rookie. Sion James has been really good. And Grant Williams came back from injury too. So I think their roster is a little bit deeper as well. So I don't think it would necessarily be like a sweep by the Pistons. I don't think that Charlotte could take them to like 7 games or win that series by any means overall. But yeah, like the Pistons are just more talented than every team in the play-in. But Charlotte, I think a little bit of it was just how hot they were after the All-Star break. Like, no team wanted to see them really, which I think is a fair point. But yeah, the Pistons would have taken care of them easily, I think. But I don't think it would have been a total walkover.
All right, well, let's get back to this matchup then for the Pistons. Why don't we do a little bit of a preview here for Pistons Magic? All right, we've been talking at the high level. We got one more question that's also focused at that kind of bird's eye view. This is from Shags in the DBB comments. It says, if the Pistons can score 100 points in each game, they should have a good chance of winning the series, winning the games that they score 100 points. So first to 100 might actually mean something in this series. I've seen a lot of this as well. I think I kind of agree with it, Blake. Like, is this kind of where you're at? This is a throwback series. I mean, we're going to see 2 physical defensive first teams going and doing battle in round 1. And the first team that scores 100 or 110 is probably going to be the one to pull it out.
Yeah. I think there's merit to that as well. And I mean, like you said, Orlando likes to score near the rim, go in the mid-range a little bit. They obviously have Desmond Bane. They can shoot threes too. And I mean, the Pistons are made up similarly. They like to score in the paint. They have 3-point shooters, but it's not like they're not the best 3-point shooting team in the league. So when you match up 2 physical teams like that, I think more likely than not, you're going to see lower scoring totals. And yeah, it might be a bit of an old school series. And yeah, I agree with Shags here that maybe first to 100 is something that will mean something in this series. But that said, I do think both teams possess guys who can really go off for 30, 35 points in any given night. Orlando with Paolo and Desmond Bane, and maybe even Franz, even though he's struggling a bit, and Detroit with Cade and even Duran. So you never know. But it's certainly like, on paper and just going into it, you certainly have to think it's a physical series where defense is going to win out. And the good news is I think Detroit has the upper hand here, but Orlando won't make that easy.
Yeah, I agree. And, when we're talking about defense, I did find one really interesting stat on Basketball Reference. So we know that the Pistons are the most foul happy team in the league, right? So they foul guys a lot. They also get fouled quite a bit. So the Pistons are up there on that. But Basketball Reference had an interesting team statistic. It was the free throw attempt to shot attempt ratio. So how many free throws per regular shot do you take as a team? And the Magic were actually first in that. So maybe there's a weakness there, right? If you're Orlando and you're trying to game plan against Detroit, maybe you're looking at that and thinking, hey, if we can bait them into some more fouls, you can slow the game down even more, muck it up even more. Maybe that's a way you could get an advantage. Because I'm with you. Like, the Magic have a lot of talent. They do. Other than Paolo and Bane, though, who's really scaring you offensively? To the point where you're like debating whether or not you need to switch Asar Thompson out there. Like Asar Thompson's probably going to match up with Desmond Bane, and you're probably going to get Tobias on Paolo Banchero. And then the rest is you're kind of just fine. You're okay. I know Anthony Black had a hot stretch in there. Wendell Carter Jr. can kind of shoot. I'd really like Jalen Suggs. I can't say much about him offensively. It's like, I just don't know if they've got the horses to even keep up with Detroit's offense, which is admittedly not, amazing, not the best in the league by any stretch. So maybe that the final thing, maybe that's their way to muck it up even more and keep things under 100, like Shags was saying here.
Yeah, and I think another thing to keep in mind is, I think Jamal Mosley did a great job against the Hornets, but I think the Pistons do have the better coach as well. And we talked about last week about JB and whether he's willing to adjust in the playoffs, but we haven't seen that yet this season. So willing to give him the benefit of the doubt there. But I think he's just done a fantastic job really since he got here. Whereas it's more of a rocky road in Orlando, not all to Jamal Mosley's fault, but I think the Pistons might even have the upper hand, like adjustment wise and changing things up and like mucking things up themselves, just based on how things have been going in Orlando over the season.
So I just looked this up too, because I was curious, somewhat related, but mid-range shots. We made a comment about this earlier. The Orlando Magic, the percent of field goals by distance. This is from Basketball Reference. They shoot the 18th most short mid-range shots, so 10 to 16 feet. The Pistons are 22nd. And then if we are looking at long two-pointers, so 16 feet to three-point range, the Pistons are 9th, so they actually do shoot quite a bit, and the Magic are all the way down in 22nd. So I was wrong on the long twos, right on that short mid-range distance. So you're thinking elbow pull-ups and right around that free throw line if you drew the arc around there. So that is interesting for a team that relies so much on getting all the way to the rim. So the Pistons here. Now I'm just pulling up Basketball Reference. This is terrible podcasting, Blake. You could cut me off at any time. But 3 to 10 feet. Pistons are first in the rate coming from the 3 to 10 feet range. Orlando Magic 7th. Pistons are 7th for at the rim. Orlando Magic 10th. So really, they shoot very similar rates. Percentage of their shots coming from at the front of the rim. Short, like just away from the rim, so 3 to 10 feet. But the Magic shoot a bunch more of those elbow jumpers, and the Pistons shoot a little bit more of the long twos. And when it comes to three-point rate, the Magic are above them. I know that. The Magic are at, where are we at? 24th. Pistons are 29th. So interesting.
Yeah, and I think Sean brings up a good point here about like Tobias matching up with Paolo, and Paolo can shoot threes. He's not the greatest 3-point shooter in the world, but I honestly would actually be a little more worried about like Desmond Bane, and that's not a secret because he's killed the Pistons at numerous times over his career. And even Wendell Carter Jr., like we've seen Jalen Duren struggle with bigs who can shoot the ball for sure. So I mean, yeah, Paolo is a threat to go off any night. He did so against the Hornets, but in their first play-in game against the Sixers, he couldn't really do nothing. So I think the Pistons might be able to neutralize Paolo and be like, okay, let everyone else beat us. But the plan might be, let's neutralize Bane and let everyone else beat us. So I think we're probably going to talk about like defensive matchups a bit more. But I think overall the Pistons do match up pretty well. I think the biggest outlier maybe is like Duren on Carter if Carter's making his shots that night.
You know, let's stick with the matchups here for a second. So we've got Sean Haddix, as you just brought up, but we've also got Piper in the live chat talking about the same kind of idea. Put Tobias Harris on Paolo Banchero, and then also mentioning Asar Thompson on Desmond Bane. Well, we got a question about that. It's from Detroit DK in the DBB comments. Says, wonder who the matchups are going to be. So, I mean, let's just go starting lineup to starting lineup, right? The Magic are likely to be starting off the game one here with Desmond Bane, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Wendell Carter Jr. You assume the Pistons will do their regular matchup or starting lineup as well. So you got Cade, Robinson, Asar Thompson, Tobias Harris, and Jalen Duren. How are you matching those guys up against the Magic starting lineup, and why?
Yeah. I mean, I think like we've alluded to a bit, I think it will be Tobias on Paolo and Asar on Bane, and then Duren on Wendell Carter. So that really leaves the question as, does Cade take Suggs or Franz, and who does Duncan Robinson take? I mean, I think positionally, you're probably just going to keep Cade on Suggs and switch things around if like Franz is able to get it going with Duncan on him, because that's obviously the biggest hole that you have there. So I think those two matchups you could honestly switch around a little bit, because like you said, Suggs isn't the greatest offensive threat in the world. So maybe you just throw Duncan on him and let Cade do his thing on Franz. But I could also see just wanting to give Cade not the least impactful defensive assignment, just because of everything he has to do on offense as well. So that's how I draw it up, at least. I mean, JB might disagree and switch around Cade and Duncan, but I think overall that's like logically how it works together. And then you can obviously switch things up depending on those holes back there.
Yeah, I was going to lean the exact same way. So, and that's just because, when you look at Desmond Bane, is he even their leading scorer? He's not their leading scorer. Paolo Banchero is. Paolo's averaging 22.2 points per game. Desmond Bane is averaging 20.1. Hey, also really quick, just noticed on Basketball Reference, shout out to Desmond Bane, man. Played all 82 games. Good for him. But anyway, so he's their most efficient scorer, which makes me the most nervous. It's not necessarily that he's been a Piston killer. Obviously he has, but Desmond Bane's at a little over 48% from the floor and 39% from three. You compare that to a guy like Paolo. He's 46 from the floor, 30 from three. Like, yeah, I know that Paolo Banchero can be a difference maker. I know that he's a very good basketball player, but I think that you can have Tobias Harris just get really physical with him and try to bait him into some long mid-range jump shots and bait him into some threes. And you know what? If you lose a game because Paolo's chucking up threes, then you lost the game because Paolo chucked up threes. I'm cool with that. I'd much rather have Desmond Bane really neutralized by Asar Thompson. And then when it comes to Franz, like, he's only played 34 games this year. He's been really hot and cold these past, like looking at his past 5-game stretch here on Basketball Reference, you got 7 for 18, 8 for 13, 7 for 13, 4 for 10, 8 for 12. Like, he's had some good ones. He's had some bad ones. And he's a good scorer. I think you put Cade on him. and hope for the best there. I think Cade could probably put up a fight. I'm not too worried about Wendell Carter Jr. with Jalen Duren. I think Wendell Carter Jr. will have his hands full on the other end, too much so to really be a massive threat on offense. And Jalen Suggs is just too easy of a candidate to hide Duncan Robinson, right? I mean, if you lose a game because Jalen Suggs got hot from three and scored, 30 points on you, like, okay, that's fine. I'm good with that. If that's how you lose, that's how you lose. That's fine. That'd be the equivalent of like, you lost the basketball game because Asar Thompson went for 30. Like, sure, if you're an opponent of Detroit, you take that. You take that if it meant that Cade was cold and Duren didn't do all that much, but you lost anyway because of Asar. Like, all right, fine. I think it's the same thing here with the Magic. So all that said, they pose a little bit of problems. I'm a little bit worried about Franz's size there and the way he can in that matchup with Cade. But on the other end, you got to assume that Cade's getting the Suggs matchup, and I feel pretty good about Duncan Robinson being able to get some space, running around off ball for threes. I feel pretty good about the space that Asar Thompson can cut into. Tobias and Paolo's been a good matchup recently, and all respect to Wendell Carter Jr., but he's now big enough. I think the Pistons are doing all right there,
Yeah, and I mean, just on Suggs, like he's not out there to play or make 3 threes. I mean, he can make shots, which is nice, but he's there to be an impactful perimeter defender and help Orlando play how they want to play. So I don't think they'll even like go to him that much. I mean, obviously, if it's that they want to target Duncan Robinson and do switches, you'll have to involve Jalen Suggs in actions in one way or another. But yeah, I think overall that way just makes the most sense. And that's not to say that things couldn't change over the series if JB sees something different or Orlando's able to do something that he doesn't like. So I think that's the most likely way, but we could be surprised. Who knows?
I do think that's one thing that I really want the Pistons to draw a line in the sand on. Switches. Do not let Desmond Bane switch Asar Thompson off of him. They let Jalen Brunson do that every now and again in the Knicks series last year, and Brunson was able to get a couple of mismatches. And yeah, it was helpful. You had Dennis Schroeder, right? And that was good. You were able to kind of mitigate some of that, but they've been better about it this season, about not letting Asar switch off the guy he's really primary matched up on. And they need to be good about it here, because if you let Desmond Bane ISO on Duncan Robinson, not even an ISO, if there's any point in time where Desmond Bane has a live dribble and Duncan Robinson's in front of him, you're worried. You got to be worried about that. And I think that's what they are going to want to do. That's probably Jamal Mosley's instinct here. If I were in his shoes, that'd be mine, right? If we could just get Desmond Bane freed up onto Duncan Robinson, Desmond Bane's our best on-ball creator. He creates for himself. He creates for others. And we can really get the Pistons defense kind of on their heels by attacking Duncan. And I'm not going to be able to really do that with Jalen Suggs. Like I know my guys that much. So that's what I would try to do first. If the Pistons can force him to go away from that, I think that's where you really start to see the Pistons defense really constrain there on the Magic. Because if you're the Magic and you got to start relying on Paolo Banchero trying to create his own offense against a physical defender, that's going to result in far more mid-range jumpers, far more three-pointers than you'd like to see as a Magic fan. Even though, yes, I think it was Piper here, Richard in the live chat saying that Paolo gets a lot of his production at the free throw line. Yes, he absolutely does. But if you could bump him, he will get off of his line. If you can hold him away from the rim, he will pull up for a midi. And I think that's a win anytime you can get that. So you start to run into that territory. And I think their offense has a tendency to grind to a halt when you take Desmond Bane away. So do it. Do not let Asar Thompson get switched off. Don't let them screen him away. Stick him to Desmond Bane like glue. And I think that's your key to not an easy, but a relatively short series.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Like, it's not a given, even with Asar Thompson on him, that Desmond Bane's going to be a total non-factor. I mean, we've seen it before, and I mean, Asar Thompson gives you as good a chance as anyone to limit Bane as much as possible, but he's a good enough player where he can still create offense. He can still make shots no matter who's guarding him. It puts a lot of weight on the shoulders of Asar Thompson, but I think he's the best possible player that you want in that scenario. Just stay out of foul trouble. Not to say that whoever comes in and then checks Bane won't do a good job, but yeah, you want Asar Thompson to limit Bane as much as possible, and then that's really the recipe to take care of this series as soon as possible to hopefully get some rest in between rounds 1 and 2.
All right, let's go back to the Orlando versus the Magic thing one last time and just kind of make this explicit. We kind of hit on it earlier, but let's bring it up anyway. So this was McGonigal Fan Club, presumably a Tigers fan there. Yeah, shout out to Kevin McGonigal. Yeah, but saying Orlando will give the Pistons a tougher series than Charlotte would have. The Hornets got a lot of love, but their style of basketball is not conducive to playoff success. So I guess the question I want to ask you with this one is that accurate? Like, is that what we saw out of the Charlotte Hornets there? Is the kind of, the spray and pray, shoot a bunch of threes, run the ball quite a bit, don't focus too much on defense? Is that just not sustainable playoff basketball, or, were they just cold?
I mean, I think this was very accurate until like midway through the season. Like, I think the Hornets proved that they can win playing that way. And like we saw in the play-in tournament, it's very volatile. Maybe we're right. It's not conducive to winning a championship, but I think the Hornets have numerous scorers that are electric enough where they give them a chance any game. Obviously, they need to make their shots. Teams can game plan around it. Like, I think we saw both Miami and Orlando do. I think it'll be a really interesting offseason in Charlotte. I mean, I don't think we will see any crazy shakeups, but yeah, maybe they do adjust things a bit to play more like the rest of the teams and not like live and die by the three. But at the same time, like, you have the best 2 3-point shooters in the league. And yes, LaMelo takes a lot of them and maybe he's not efficient all the times, but you have Brandon Miller too, who's a good shooter and overall scorer himself, and Miles Bridges as well. So I think that they prove they can win that way. It's just a question of if they can win a playoff series that way and how far they could go, because they probably need to make some adjustments around the edges, but I think their core will stay intact. I mean, now that I said that, they'll probably trade LaMelo, but I'd be pretty surprised if they do.
All I will say with the Charlotte Hornets is I don't know if it's necessarily their style that's problematic. I will continue to have questions about the way LaMelo Ball plays until that is proven incorrect. The shot selection that he has, the inability, or not, it's not inability because he's plenty talented, unwillingness to get to the rim and finish around the basket and play physical. I think that you can win a series. You could go and have a successful team with a run and gun style. I think you absolutely can do that in the modern NBA. I just don't know if you can do that when you're point guard, when the guy that whole system's based around will just every now and then chuck up a 3-pointer that's 5 feet behind the 3-point line with 18 seconds still on the shot clock in a close game with 40 seconds to go. It's not a good shot. There's a process problem that I have with the way that he plays, and if that's ever, if he wins like that and continues to, I'll happily say I was wrong about it. But until that happens, then I'll just continue to point to it every now and then. I just don't think that player has a winning shot selection is I guess the way I would put that. But I don't know if it's necessarily a stylistic problem for the team. More so if you could just rein him in a little bit, right? If you can kind of coach him up in that way, maybe you'd be really, really good. Let's do this one next. This is from Gregory Wagner in the DBB comments asking us about All NBA third team. And Blake, I don't know if you saw this or not already, but Brady Fredrickson for DBB, he did send around a All NBA and just NBA awards poll that he was putting together for all of Detroit Bad Boys riders. So I kind of thought it'd be fun to preview that based off of this question. And you guys, if you are listening to this, hopefully Brady's article is already out by then. If not, watch for it. I'm sure it's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to see what the rest of the staff at DBB thought with all of this as well. But why don't we can kind of go through who both of us had for all of these awards if you want. I mean, we could do All NBA first through third team, All Defense first and second, MVP, Rookie of the Year, Most Improved Player, Coach of the Year. Because presumably we both have all of those thrown out there now because of that article that's forthcoming.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to start with All NBA. I mean, I think that it was an odd season overall because, or I guess odd way into the award season with Luka Doncic and Cade Cunningham filing their grievances and getting those approved, which is great for both those players. I think that was well deserved, and it should be the case. And we've already talked about the rules a lot, but Cade and Luka both being eligible obviously takes up a couple All NBA slots. So I'm curious, like the biggest question for me is like, does that change Jalen Duren's status on All NBA? Because like I think he should still be on, but there are a ton of other players who are worthy too. And like, I mean, hey, I think Jalen Duren should probably even be second team, but just with some spots getting snatched up, I guess, by Cade, which is great, and Luka as well. Like Jalen Johnson's had a great season. Chet's had the best season yet. Jamal Murray made the All-Star team for the first time. Like, do you think Jalen Duren is firmly All NBA?
I do. I mean, I obviously do not have a vote. We are not that important. But I did. If I did, I would have him still as All NBA third team. And this is going to be unpopular, but I'm feeling it. So I'm going to say it anyway. And I'm just going to hope that this gets buried in a podcast that we're talking about playoff preview. And hey, I did still put Cade on All NBA first team in this poll that we're doing for DBB. But what is the point of this 65 game rule if you don't uphold it for the star players? Like I'm happy that Cade's going to get his awards. I don't get it. It's the 65 game suggestion now. And you know that if this was like, respectfully, if this was like Jalen Duren, who's borderline for All NBA third team, if he was somehow not eligible because he had kind of a funky injury and he protested it, I can't say with 100% confidence, but I'm fairly confident it would not have been ruled in this way. So it's okay. So the top of the league guys, they can still they can get this waived. It doesn't hold for them, but I have a strong suspicion that if it were like a B+ level star, no, it's a 65 game rule. Sorry, pal, it's too bad for you. So I don't like the. If you're gonna have the rule, have the rule. If you're not gonna have the rule, then don't have the rule. I don't care, right? This isn't something that keeps me up at night, but I don't love the ruling that now like Luka and Cade are going to be eligible. All that's to say, my first team that I sent over to Brady for DBB, I voted SGA, Jokic, Cade, Wemby, and Luka. Second team, I had Jaylen Brown, Kawhi Leonard, Therese Maxey, Jalen Johnson, and Kevin Durant. Third team, Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, Chet Holmgren, Jamal Murray, and Jalen Duren. So I did. I do still think Duren should probably get that third team consideration here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think mine would be, and just to like run through it, I'd have Shea, Jokic, Wemby, Luka and Cade, and then Kawhi, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Tyrese Maxey, and I'll give Jalen Duren the second team. And then just to
Ooh,
round it out,
spicy. I love it.
I mean, I don't know. I think he's like firmly in there. And hey, 60-win team. And okay, we've only named one Thunder player so far. But I don't think Chet has a realistic chance for second team. So to round it out, that would just, for me, that would be KD, Chet, Scotty Barnes, Jalen Johnson, and Jalen Brunson. So I think overall that'll probably like flip flop a bit. Maybe there's someone else that might get in, but yeah, I still think Jalen Duren is firmly in, because I mean, this doesn't matter in votes, but if he doesn't make it, that takes real money away for his contract, which is good for the Pistons, but not good for Jalen Duren personally. And I mean, that's a lot of money. So there's no getting around that.
Here's my 2-second pitch for Jalen Duren. If the Pistons won 60 games and they did not have any other player capable of being nearly a top 15 guy, and because of injuries and everything, we'll just call this a top 25 player. So if it's Cade and a bunch of like, top 50 guys, but not top 25 guys, then Cade Cunningham needs to be MVP. Cade Cunningham surely will not be MVP. As such, clearly Jalen Duren must be talented and good enough to be one of the top 25 best NBA players in the season this year, which means he should absolutely be getting consideration for all NBA third team with all the injuries that have been taking place this season. So there's my pitch for JD. I think you'd have, if you don't get him that, then why is Cade not a stronger MVP candidate? That'd be insane if he's really the only guy in this team won 60 games. He's not. Jalen Duren's really good. Let's talk defense. All NBA defense, first team and second team. Can we do the first team first, though? Team first. Asar's on it, right? I've been seeing this a lot. Like, I've been looking at other voters. Asar's not on all NBA first team. What?
No, I think he definitely should be. I mean, like, obviously Wemby's on there, like Chet and Rudy Gobert are probably on there as well. But I mean, I'd put Asar right. Like, it might be Wemby, Asar for me. And I think like Dyson Daniels might even have a conversation on that first team, but I think he'll be second team. I think it would be kind of crazy if Asar doesn't get first team.
Okay, good. I agree completely. I mean, like, I don't quite understand this idea that big men exclusively hold the right of being most important defensive players. I get that a lot of times that the game is funneled to your center, but that doesn't mean that every center who's a good defender is the most impactful. So the ballot that I put together, I had Wemby, Chet, and Bam Adebayo. Those were my bigs that were on first team, and I think that that's fully. I mean, those guys are clearly amazing defenders. I love Bam's switchability too. That gave him a little bit of an edge over a guy like Rudy Gobert, to me, who I think is pretty just traditionally a big rim protecting center. But then Asar Thompson and Derek White out of Boston. Those guys to me were just so good onto the perimeter defensively. You had to give it to them. I'm curious though now, who would be on your second team?
Yeah, so I think I don't know if I fully said it 1-to-1, but I think first team would be Wemby, Gobert, Chet, Asar, Scotty Barnes, and then after that, I mean, I think Dyson Daniels is just so impactful, so I'll give it to him. And then Bam, I think Amen deserves it, as well as Steph Castle. And then with one more, I mean, like, probably it's Derek White or maybe even OG Anunoby, but I think Tumani Kamara deserves some love as well. I think because of just where Portland is, like, maybe he doesn't get in there, and Denny might have even been a miss in all NBA, but I think just Portland's record might mess with that a little bit. So yeah, I think it would be Bam, Amends, Steph Castle, Dyson Daniels, and Derek White for me.
And that was for second team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Scotty on second team, Scotty Barnes with Gobert, Casey Wallace, Dyson Daniels, and OG Anunoby. So OG instead of Steph Castle, he was kind of like my first one out. But yeah, I like it. All right, let's do the spicy one. MVP. Who's your top three?
Oh man, I mean, the Cade conversation is so tough because like I think he should be an MVP candidate, but Wemby's been so good. Like, I'm not sure, just because of the injury, honestly, like Cade's out of my top three. I don't want to say it, but yeah. So I think I would vote for Jokic. Like I would have last year. I just think what he does is on another planet. And I know Shea is as well. He's the best scorer. He's the best shot maker in the league, but I just think Jokic is the best player in the world. And yeah, the Nuggets are the 3 seed, but if it weren't for him, where would they be? So it would be Jokic, Shea, and then Wemby for me.
I did still have Cade as the third for it.
Love it.
The turnaround of this team and the way, he is, everything runs through him, and he's also the locker room leader, and he's a pretty good defender in his own right on the perimeter. It's just, I don't know, the 60 wins for the Pistons, first in the East, locking that up with some games to go. I couldn't not have Cade still get that third place vote. But yeah, for MVP, it comes down to SGA and Jokic. I win SGA for the DBB vote, but I'll be honest with you, that was just a total gut feeling. I don't even have like an argument that I want to give on why I think SGA deserves it instead of Jokic. Like they're so close to me. I feel like SGA and the Thunder, what they've done this year is so impressive, and he's dominant in such a unique way. And sometimes it doesn't even feel like he's going full speed, but then you look up and he just breaks Wilt's record for 20-point games in a row. Like it's there. I mean, again, both of them are unbelievable players, incredible to watch. I guess SGA by a hair is kind of what I thought. I'm just not confident in it at all.
Yeah. And yeah, I'd still have Cade in my top 5 for sure. I'd have him for sure. Even though Luka's
the other one to bring up, right? Those are kind of the 5 guys.
Yeah, Luka led the league in scoring, but just how the Lakers are. I think if Cade can just, I know it's super annoying to put like such a big award in like an arbitrary stat pretty much, but if Cade can score just a little bit more, I think he would be just like a no doubt MVP candidate. I mean, it's hard to eclipse that level of Jokic and SGA, and with what Wemby's doing. And I know Wemby isn't leading the league in scoring or anything like that. It's, if you look back at MVP winners, the only outlier that has scored around the same mark as Cade was Steph Curry in 2015. And like, other than that, all the recent winners are averaging like 26 points a game and at least, and that's Nikola Jokic, who's pretty much averaging a triple-double too. So, I mean, hey, I think Cade has a shot at some point in his career. It'll be hard because there's obviously only one player gets it, and there's so many incredible players here. So, hey, if he can up that to 26, 27 next year, I think we're having a totally different conversation.
Con Knipple, Rookie of the Year.
Ooh, yeah, I'd give it to him. I know you're not, like, it's not really a team context award, but I just think being the best 3-point shooter in the NBA, and that's not all he does, is incredible. I mean, Cooper Flagg, great rookie season as well. I think it's close, but yeah, it would be Con for me.
Yep, I'm in the same boat. VJ Edgecombe coming in third in my voting there. This isn't the best prospect award. I think that's still clearly Cooper Flag. Best rookie this season. And Khan has been doing it since the beginning of the season, been consistent. Like you said, first rookie to lead the league in threes. That's all big stuff. So I feel like you got to give it to him.
And just to cover Richard's question quick here.
Go ahead.
If voters, MVP awards voters factor in the play-in, they're not supposed to. It's supposed to be a regular season honors. It got a little wonky this year because the league needed time for the Cade Luka situation, and ballots actually weren't sent out until that was finalized and play-in games happened. So they're not supposed to, like, I'm guessing people did, but they're not supposed to. Recency bias is tough though, but it should be a hard no.
Real quick, the Cavs did just lock up game 126-113. So the Raptors pulled back a little bit closer there. They were giving them a fight for about 2 quarters, and it seems like the top kind of blew off. But let's do the ones that Pistons fans really care about. At least in my book, I think really care about. Most improved player. Here's what I'm curious about, Blake. Before you even tell me who wins it, do you even have a third candidate for this? For me, there are two. There are 2 candidates for this award: Jalen Duren and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Is anyone even else in the discussion to you?
Oh boy, I don't think so, honestly. And I mean, I think Jalen Duren has a true case, but I think I would give the nod to Nickeil Alexander-Walker just because of what he's done as a scorer. He's really like taken another step, and he went into a different situation, and he's still a great defender, but I think he's a great shooter, a great scorer, and I think he's just reached another level this year. I mean, Duren's done the same thing. But I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker's like improvedness, that's definitely not a word, is just on a little bit higher of a level there.
So I don't have a third either. That's why I was asking. Brady asked in the email for like 3 names.
Yeah, I mean, like Denny.
I guess.
But does that even count? Like, I don't know.
I don't know either. I was like, I can't even think of a third name to put to this. But just to give a little context. So in terms of points per game difference, Nickeil Alexander-Walker went from 9.4 to 20.8. All right. Yeah. That's solid. Duren went from 11 point up. Nothing's loading for me anymore. 11 point something all the way up to 19 and a half. So really, really good from him as well. I do think it's really close. I want to give the nod to JD though, because I think the leap from, solid starting center last season to now legit second best player on a 60-win team, second star, keeps the ship afloat when Cade goes out. I think that leap is far larger of a gap, even if, the stats are close, right? Because look, what Nickeil Alexander-Walker's done has been incredible. It absolutely has. But the Hawks aren't as good. And he's not really the number, like he kind of is the number 2, but they got CJ McCollum out there and he's playing his butt off as well. They got a really good center in Onyeka Okongwu, who, not the best offensively, but he holds his own defensively too. So Michael Zampier brings up this is very subjective. Absolutely. I don't know. I want to give it to the guy that went from solid starter to second star, all-star type player, rather than the guy that went from, 6-man of the year candidate to really, really good 2-guard on a solid basketball team. That's my pitch.
No, that's fair. And I think they're both worthy candidates, honestly. And like Michael said, it's definitely a subjective award. I would love if the NBA released like strict definitions that people need to adhere to, but it's tough because maybe there's not even really a definition there. Obviously, I think Duran is a well-worthy candidate. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker's had a great season, and yeah, the other names are probably Denny and Jalen Johnson, like Richard mentioned, but they started their leap last season, like he said. So, yeah, I think those are the two. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping for JD. That would be an awesome honor.
Coach of the year?
So I would definitely vote for JB. I mean, I know the Pistons improved last season, and it's not a 2-year award, but just taking this franchise from what it was 2 seasons ago to making the playoffs last year to clinching the 1 seed in the East this year. I mean, I think that's incredible. And I mean, yeah, if that's not the coach of the year, I don't know what it is. I know the other big name is Joe Mazzulla, and I think he's done an incredible job his whole tenure, especially this year without Jason Tatum and people thinking it's kind of a leap year, forget about it kind of thing, and they find themselves as the number 2 seed. I think he's done a heck of a job, and he's probably going to win the award, honestly. But I think if I had a vote, I would vote for JB.
Yeah, I would too. I think there's a lot of revisionist history going on right now about people thought the Pistons would be good. No, the general consensus was that Detroit was going to take a step back from the 44 wins that they had last season, not take a step forward. The East got tougher, and the Pistons didn't get all that much better. That was the idea to come starting the year out. So to go from that being your national perspective to the team that locked up the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, won 60 games, and by the way, locked up that number 1 seed with some room to go in the season and outplayed that Celtics team that we think we're maybe giving the coach of the year for. I don't even. Joe Mazzulla, like you said, great coach. I do not see the argument there. I'm interested though. Do you think Quinn Snyder needs a little bit of love with this one? I do. With what they've done with the Hawks there the second half of this season, after trading away what was thought to be their superstar player, who, yeah, I mean, earlier in the year he had been hurt in and out of the lineup, wasn't really helpful when he was around. I get it, but still, like, that should have been on, and Kristaps too. Like, those should have been blows, and instead they're just even better for it. I think a lot of that goes to Quinn Snyder.
I do. I think he'd be in my top 5, but honestly, I think I would give Mitch Johnson and even Jordan Ott from Phoenix a little bit of love before him. I know the Suns are the 8 seed, but to even be in the playoffs after you get rid of KD and Jalen Green's been good, and like it seems like they have something. But yeah, I think it's a great point. I think Quinn Snyder is a name that like hasn't really been talked about at all in Coach of the Year conversations, and he's definitely deserving because when Atlanta trades Trae Young, you think it means a rebuild. And yeah, they had Jalen Johnson, who looks like a player that you can build around for some time, but to be even better without your star point guard for the past 7 years and be in the playoffs as a 6 seed. And I think they have a real shot against the Knicks too, but he definitely deserves some love as well.
All right, let's knock out 2 more questions before we wrap this one up. First, this is from Turia in the DBB comments. Says, will a non-top 3 seed make the finals? And if so, who would be your pick?
I mean, I think, just to go back, like, I think the only team that really has a shot is the team we were just talking about in Atlanta. Obviously, that would mean the Pistons wouldn't make the finals. So hopefully that's not the case. And Atlanta would have to beat the Knicks in the first round. Then they would likely have to beat the Celtics. So I don't think it's an easy path, but they've been one of the best teams in the NBA. And since the calendar changed to 2026. I mean, in the West, you can look at the Lakers or Rockets, but both of them would have to play the Thunder in round 2. So I think the candidate there is maybe the Wolves, but I don't realistically see them with a shot to make it to the finals, getting past Denver, getting past San Antonio, and then probably Oklahoma City. Like, I just don't see that happening. So I think it would have to be a team in the East. You can mention Cleveland too, but I would say my pick would be Atlanta if it's anyone.
Yeah, I don't like with the Eastern Conference. I don't think it's happening. I think that the top. You could kind of do an asterisk here with the Cavs. The Cavs and Knicks to me are on a very similar level. But I really struggle to see anyone that's not Detroit, Boston, or New York really coming out of the East. I think what's interesting, if the Lakers can survive this 4-5 matchup and then get Luka and Austin Reeves back, or like get Luka and Austin Reeves back on the tail end of the 4-5 matchup here with the Rockets. I mean, Luka Doncic has done this before, dragging a team that's talented, yes, but not quite to the same caliber as some of the other teams in the conference all the way to the NBA Finals. I could see a unfortunate reality where the Lakers get in it. Otherwise, I mean, your money's got to be on the Thunder or Spurs, right? I mean, like,
yeah,
those two teams have been the class of, I mean, honestly, in the second half of the year, kind of the class of the league, both of them, to finish the way that they did. So, yeah, I'd say, I don't know. Would you say unlikely, or I don't know? Is there a coin flip chance? I guess.
No, I don't think it's very likely. I think it's less than a coin flip. Especially when you take in, I don't think it's happening in the West. Like, I would give that honestly like a 90% chance that it's not happening in the West. And like, that could even be a team lower than 2. The Nuggets still have a shot, but yeah, I mean, the Hawks are good. Who knows what Cleveland can do? They have a great backcourt, good front court. But I do think it would be one of the Pistons, Celtics, or Knicks coming out of the East as well. So I think it would be a little less than a coin flip.
Can I just say, though, for the perspective of, Detroit Pistons history, how wild would it be if the Pistons get to the Eastern Conference Finals and play the Celtics, pull out a win, and then face the Lakers?
Oh man,
in the finals, right? I mean, like, that would be. Well, I'm not predicting that. I'm not even predicting that the Pistons would win the series against the Celtics. So don't go thinking that that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, in terms of basketball's poetry, things seem to happen again. That'd be one of those examples. That'd be wild if that actually took place. Let's end on this one, Blake. We promised Dream Scraper 00 of the DBB comments that we would hit this question this week. So let's end the show on it. Let's give them the kind of the top of the list. Asked this year. This is looking ahead, but before we get into playoff basketball, who do we re-sign next year? And I'll give you the list of either extension eligible players or players that are about to be free agents for the Pistons. You got Tobias Harris, Kevin Huerter, Javonte Green, Jalen Duren, Asar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, and Marcus Sasser. And again, that's either free agents or extension eligible. So who is getting a new contract, do you think?
I mean, I think the near locks are like Duren and Stu. And I mean, I think Asar is almost a lock. Who knows what it would be? Maybe he takes a pass similar to Duren, but I would doubt it. I think Asar is getting an extension this offseason. And then, so that leaves Tobias, Kevin Huerter, Javonte Green, and Marcus Sasser. I mean, of those 4 players, top of my list is Tobias Harris. If you can bring him back on a smaller deal, that would be great. But I think Tobias might have some other interest out there and teams who are willing to pay him more. So we'll see what he does there. I would think he would want to stay here, but money talks. So who knows? I think that would be a Tobias Harris decision. I think the Pistons would definitely be interested in that. And then I would put Javonte Green almost in a similar boat to that. If you can just get him back on the same deal, I would do that every day in the week. Maybe he gets some other suitors out there as well. I think Kevin Huerter was always brought in as like help at the deadline. And I mean, maybe they retain him on a cheap deal, but I would be surprised. I'm not sure if they would. And I mean, Sasser, just with the emergence of Dennis Jenkins, like maybe there's still room for Sasser as a third guard, but maybe there's someone else out there. Maybe Sasser thinks he can get a bigger role elsewhere. So, I mean, of those players, my top candidates to not be on the team next year are Huerter and Sasser, and even Tobias Harris, just because like another team could pay Tobias Harris a lot more money. Like I think the Pistons would 100% want him back.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think with Tobias Harris, you're hoping to get him around the mid-level exception, if not just a little bit under. I feel like that's fairly likely. I don't know how many teams are going to be willing to pay him too much more, and if it's close, man, you got to think Tobias is going to be willing to come back with the, he likes Detroit. He likes the guys, likes the locker room, likes the coach, likes his role. I mean, I think Harris has a good shot at coming back. But, of this list, I think it's Harris. I think it's Duren and Ausar and Stewart getting an extension. And then everyone else, Sasser is not getting an extension. If you could get Kevin Huerter on somewhere near like a minimum or what's left of the room exception, I could see that. How many teams are going to be willing to pay him too much more? I don't know. Maybe. Same deal with Javonte Green, right? But both of those guys, it's look, are you going to come back for really cheap? And if not, then go get your money. We're rooting for you. I think that's kind of the positioning there with those guys. So that'd be my list as well. Harris, Duren, Ausar, and Stewart. So Duren, Ausar, Stewart getting Ausar, Stewart getting extensions, Duren getting a new contract, Harris getting a new contract. I keep forgetting that Jalen Duren is technically not extension at this point. This is just a brand new contract. I keep slipping on that.
Oh no, that's a confusing one. So yeah, he's gonna get his payday. We'll see how much it is based on all NBA and stuff. And Michael Dompier, just to answer that question about Sasser, there is a club option that the team can pick up next season for him. So if they don't want that money on their books, and I'm assuming they don't because it's above $5 million, it jumps up quite a bit next season. Decline that, sign him for a cheaper deal, or just decline it and Sasser signs elsewhere. So we'll see what shakes out there, and also there could be trades. Who knows what'll happen over the off season. But cool. We will wrap it up there. The Pistons are
real quick,
playoff.
Blake.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Prediction. First two games.
Oh, first two games.
2-0, 1-1, 0-2. What do you got?
It's 2-0 Pistons. I don't think Orlando will steal one in Detroit. How about you?
I want to go 2-0. I'm going to go 2-0. I'm going to stick with it. We'll be consistent
1-1.
On this show. I did. You know me well. I did want to say 1-1. You know what? I'm going to say the Pistons haven't won a playoff home game in quite some time. The players know that, and they're going to go snag both of these. Ultimately, I'm picking Pistons in 5.
Yeah, I think I'd be aligned with. I mean, I think the max for this series is 6 as well, but we'll have actual games to talk about next week, which will be fun. Feel free to call our voice line to ask a question after you watch the games. Hear your voice on the show. The number for that is 313-355-2717. And special thanks to our guy, Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. And shout out to you guys for all the great questions and talking points tonight. We'll catch you next week, whether on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball with you all.